Sandy is a red-tender engine working on the Western Valley Railway. She is a splendid engine who thinks there is no other place like it. But there is one place she does not like: the old Middle Stream graveyard. Sandy thinks it's very sad and spooky. The graves are very old, and Sandy feels a bad atmosphere whenever she goes past it. One day, Sandy was telling Taffy about it. "That's nonsense. The graveyard is one of the famous sights of the railway." "Well, I find it old and spooky, and it's haunted." I don't know. I think you quite misunderstood by this, Sandy. Anyway, sorry I can't stop now. I've got some work to do. At the graveyard, the signal was up, and Sandy had to stop. "Oh, bother! Why do I have to stop here? This is not a place for engines to stop next to the graveyard." And Sandy blew her whistle loud and hard. Just then, Kyle came up. He was taking the flatbus to the station at the harbor. "Hey, Kyle, do you think the graveyard is haunted? I stopped here to look at it, and it sure looks spooky." Yes. I've seen the graveyard many times. I think you only wanted to see it at nighttime. There were ghosts everywhere." "Really?" "Oh, yes. They were invisible at the daytime, but at nighttime, they were not." And Kyle puffed away. As soon as the signal dropped, Sandy left as fast as she could. "Digby! Digby! You're not going to believe this, what Kyle told me about the graveyard. He says the graveyard is haunted, and ghosts are visible in it at nighttime, but they were invisible at daytime." "Are you sure about that, Sandy? If it's true, then I believe you. But if it's not true, then it's just a made-up story Kyle told you about. Besides, I've passed the graveyard, and I don't think there are any ghosts in it at nighttime. Anyway, I can't stop now. I've got my passengers to deliver to my branch line. See you later." Sandy wanted to believe Digby, but she wasn't sure. She was still worried. The next morning, she came into the station where the passengers were waiting. "Oh, I wonder if the passengers have come to visit the haunted graveyard as well as the other engines today. I sure hope they've had before." Then, as she journeyed along the main line, she saw the red signal up ahead, and she had to stop again next to the graveyard. "Botheration! I don't believe it! What on earth is going on? This is the second time it happens." "Good morning, Sandy. You look upset. What's the matter?" Sandy told Heather about the graveyard. "Don't worry, Sandy. The graveyard isn't haunted. Some people find the graveyard looking interested. They like to visit here, and they wanted to look at the old headstones." "Oh, look! There are some of your passengers walking out to have a look." "Yes, but Kyle says that graveyard is full of ghosts." "I'm sure Kyle said it to pull your wheels so he can make you believe there are ghosts existing in a graveyard at night. Besides, there is nothing wrong with the graveyard." Sandy looked at the people in the graveyard. Now that she thinks about it, she found the graveyard isn't as scary as she thought it was anymore. "Why don't you stay in the siding, and that will solve your fear once and for all, Sandy. Trust me, there is no ghosts." "You know, I think I'll do that. Thank you, Heather." Late that night, Her driver parked Sandy in the siding so she can look at the graveyard. Heather was right. There is no ghost at all. Perhaps I was wrong to believe one of Kyle's silly stories. He just does it to pull my wheels. The next morning, Digby arrived with Sandy's driver. Sandy told him there was no ghost in the graveyard at all. Sandy is now no longer afraid of the graveyard and happily goes back and forth past it every day. And the engines are glad that she no longer complains about it, and she now likes it.